I'm Dr. Bart Rademacher, prescription for your transformation, real people, real conversations, and real success. And today is a great gem for all of us because we get to listen and hear the wisdom of none other than Luke Wren, a results coach, author, entrepreneur, speaker, an amazing human being with the energy and the strategies and the insights that we all want to know about. And it really comes down to this. And it's really about these questions. And I always like to go in threes. I learned this from some tall guy, someone out there. He's pretty smart and has changed my life many times. And I know he's changed Luke's life and many others as well. But the three questions are, who am I? Where am I? And where do I want to go? And if you start looking at those questions in a much deeper way, or a more fundamental way, and really dissecting those questions and really finding finer questions to answer, it's really going to help you design the life that you desire. I strongly believe that we all desire divine happiness. And to get that, we have to actually resolve whatever makes us unhappy. And in addition to that, to live the life that we actually do desire, you have to tap into that authentic genius. As Einstein says, there's a genius inside of all of us. We're just different. We're all different. But there's that genius. There's that 20X factor inside of you that you're just might not be aware of. And you see these uber successful people, they've just tapped into that success formula for themselves. And it's different for everyone. And that's why I have this platform so that you can identify those specific elements, those specific insights, the stuff that you didn't know that's going to make the whole difference. And today is a day exactly like that. So, Luke, I really want to thank you for joining me today. Also, I have to mention Sammy. Sammy, thanks for joining us today as my co-producer or producer. And we're also going to put you on the spot, Sammy, so get ready.
I'm ready for it.
So, Luke, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it, Bart. Pleasure to meet you, Sammy.
And so let me just expand just a little bit about what we're going to be talking about today. And as you notice that my energy today is a little higher than usual. I'm a little more laid back. I've just been talking to Luke for the last 20 minutes, and he's got me all pumped up, and it's a good feeling to have. And so we're going to talk about some of the key things, because when you look at it, besides that identity part, who am I, where do I want to go? There's two other main elements that we have to look at, and again in threes, and that's the passion, the energy, the health. Without that, and as Tony Robbins says, the most unrecognized resource in the U.S. and probably worldwide is passion. That's energy. And then the final thing is time. Time, otherwise, as we relate it into planning, strategies, and that kind of stuff. But I want to start with Luke with a question. Identity. Who am I? Let's talk about that.
Yeah, I love talking about this one, because what's one of the first things we ask everybody in a conversation? What do you do? Not tell me who you are, but what do you do? And most people associate their identity with their job, right? Most people look at what they do as a job, where when you think about it and you ask people, what do you do? Is it a job? Is it a mission? Is it a passion? What is it? How do they look at that? But most people, when they ask people, they don't say, who are they? They say, what do you do? And what I would challenge people out there, if this is the first time you've heard it, ask people, who are you? Tell me a little bit about you. Instead of what do you do, that's just the answer of what they do on a daily basis. That could just be their job, and they could have this passion that really lights them up and puts their soul on fire over here. So I like to ask people, who are you? And the one thing, like you said, we learned from the big guy is, answer this sentence for me. I am. How would you finish that sentence? Like for me, my big four are, I am energy, I am passion, I am blessed, I am persistent, and my bonus one is, I am Superman. Whenever I'm self-doubting myself, because if you don't control that thought process and identify who you are day in and day out, our mind gets filled much like in a garden, right? Or much like in a sidewalk. Where do the weeds grow? In the cracks. Wherever you're not controlling and filling in with good thought, your mind puts negative thoughts in the crack. And we have the research, and I forget exactly, you probably know it better than me, but 80% of your thoughts are negative and opposing. So when I see somebody on the street talking to themselves, I go, now there's somebody that's sane, not insane, because if you're talking to yourself on a daily basis, there's less room for those unconscious thoughts to take over and tell you negative things or tell you stories that aren't true. You want to be in control and get clear on who you are. So I would ask everybody, who are you? What are you about? What lights your soul on fire? And answer that simple sentence, I am. And then do it again, I am. You can have 100 of them, but have a primary, what I say 4 to 5, that really identify who you are. That when somebody goes, who are you, Luke? I'm passion, I'm energy, I'm persistent, I'm blessed, I'm Superman. Like, you don't have to think about it. It's who you are. And they go, whoa. Like, you can probably feel, I'm not bullshitting you on, or am I allowed to say that on the radio? You can probably feel I'm not BSing you, that it is, really true. You can feel the energy. You can feel the passion. So you don't want to pick words that you think you don't want to pick an identity that somebody's going to go, oh yeah, that's cool. You want to truly examine what are the words, if I were to finish the sentence, I am, truly describe you. And when you say them, people feel it and they go, yeah, that's them.
And you know what's
how would that affect you if you could show up like that every day instead of going, yeah, here's what I do. Tell people, here's who I am.
Here's what's interesting with all of that, because the responses so many people have, and when we're really honest about this, I mean, 97% of people are really affecting the world around them. But it's that other 3% that, realize, as you pointed out earlier, before our show, is that success leaves clues. And you look at the really successful people out there, they're doing exactly what you're saying. You take Think and Grow Rich. You take Jim Rohn. Jim Rohn used to say, stand guard to your brain, because you really want to make sure that, all these external thoughts, these negative thoughts, and also thoughts basically, fundamentally based out of our own need for survival, and protection, they can be rather destructive in our progress in our own life. And so, I don't know if you're familiar with this, but the word lunatics, and I'm sure a lot of people think you're a lunatic with all this energy. I mean, who is this guy, right? I know that people think Tony Robbins is a lunatic, but lunatic is derived from those people who wanted to go to the moon. And people thought, well, that's never going to happen. He's a lunatic because he wants to go to the moon. Well, guess what? We ended up going to the moon. So I'd rather be a lunatic, just kind of sort of like you're suggesting out there, have the energy, have the power, and accomplish the stuff that I want to accomplish in life. But you're absolutely right. It's the incantations, as Tony Robbins talks about. For some people, the concept of affirmation is more appropriate. But I'd like to hear from you, because incantations is an important part of your daily ritual. Describe a little bit about that so that people get the sense of what that is and how they can incorporate it. Because you said something critical, is that unless you're consistent and do it daily, it's not really going to work.
Yeah, I think we've all been there where we go, okay, here's who I am, here's where I'm at, and here's where I want to go. And you don't take any action, or you're excited for a week and the excitement goes away. And the power of incantations, or reminding yourself daily who you are, or coming up with a mission statement or an incantation that says, here's who I am, here's what I'm about, here's where I'm going. And you say it day after day after day. And all the best coaches in the world, the most influential people in the world, know it's not about saying something. It's not about just writing it down. It's about thinking about it, saying it out loud, writing it down over and over and over again, and doing it more powerful and in a better state, and managing that energy so that it's driven into your nervous system. And that's the key to doing something. We've all heard, change of habits, 21 days. Well, why would you put a day on it? What, you're going to stop 22 just to see if it stuck? It's doing things daily, but with the higher the intensity that you do something at, the more it gets driven into your nervous system so that it sticks. Most people go, oh yeah, I told I got to write down my goals. So they put their shoulders forward and they lean over their journal and they write down their goals and they close their journal and they open it up 6 months later and go, it didn't work. It didn't work because you didn't work. Like, if you really, really want something, you need to identify every day to yourself who you are. Most people don't know themselves. How would you get to know somebody else if you don't know who you are, what you're about, what your standards are, where you're headed, where you are currently, What drives you? What lights you up? And that's the power of saying the I ams. That's the power of coming up with some statements. An incantation is nothing more than a powerful statement that ignites your soul on fire, reminding yourself who you are, what you're about, where you want to go, that you are talking to you. It's not about anybody else. You know, it's building yourself, self-esteem and self-confidence. I always love when people go, I got low self-esteem. Self-esteem and self-confidence comes from building it yourself. That's something that's built. You're not given that. That's something that when you fall and you pop back up, you have now more self-esteem and you now have more self-confidence because you realize the only way to succeed in life is to fail and pop up with enthusiasm and keep going. Right. Otherwise, none of us would learn how to walk. We would have fell on our ass and stopped there. We fell repeatedly and kept going, and somewhere along the line in life, we've been taught to conform. Well, this is the way it was. This is what I did. And here's what happens to the box over time. You notice it keeps shrinking. And then all of a sudden, when we were a kid, we would try everything, do everything, and learn from trial and error. And all of a sudden, we graduate college and we're taught that, oh, it didn't work. You tried it one time, you know? And that's the thing I think that if people really realize and reinforce every day who they are with powerful incantations, then when somebody tells you no, or somebody tells you something can't be done, or somebody calls you a lunatic, or says you're crazy, you keep your chest up. You don't drop it down.
And say, hell yeah.
You say, hey, that's great. Maybe it's not your thing, but this is who I am. You know somebody that could help me get to where I'm going. If you know somebody on the same path as me that would align with me, please send them my way. I'm looking for somebody to lock arms, change lives. Here's where I'm going. If that's not you, that's okay, but this is who I am. Don't ask me to drop my energy to your level to feel good about yourself. This is me. This is who I am. Like it or leave it, but I'm not changing for anybody. And that's what comes when you build yourself. And everybody will be different. You don't have to do it like me. We all have that unique ability because I think, Sammy and Bart, you guys would both agree with this, that you run into people and they go, but I don't know. I don't have this or have that. And they get in the comparison game to other people and they go, well, I don't really have that identity or whatever. It requires you reflecting on yourself and going, what would light me up if I haven't found that? And start experimenting, doing different things, thinking about what you want in the next year, the next 5 years, the next 10 years, and see what excites you, and start playing with some finishing of the sentence, I am, and you'll develop that yourself. It doesn't come overnight. You can tell I've said it a few times. I've been walked through the process, and I repeated the process because it's not about going to the workshop, going to the seminar. It's when you got home from the workshop or seminar, did you reread your notes? It's not reading the book. How many times did you study it, right? It's not hearing something good one time. It's are you listening to it again and driving it into your nervous system? And I believe that's what really the power of I ams and incantations is really driving into your nervous system so that you're not a river when you run into people. You're the rock, because we all know only dead fish flow with the current.
So Luke, I love that statement. I have to remember that one. So Luke, I'm going to ask Sammy something here. So Sammy, how does this resonate with you, and how much of this is kind of new stuff? And the reason I ask you this is that, I went to medical school when I was 17, and I studied for another 17 years. And all those years, I didn't know any of this, the things that Luke is talking about. And I wish I had. And it was only by accident when I was in my early 40s that I was dragged against my will to a Tony Robbins event. I was really pissed off that somebody was taking me to a one-day event when I had better things to do. And I tell you one thing, it absolutely changed my life. And I'm so grateful, to the guy that decided, you know what, you got to go. So how does this resonate with you? I'm curious, with your generation, what are your thoughts? How do you respond to everything that Luke just said, besides that he's right?
Well, first off, he's right.
Besides that, he's right.
I can feel the energy, but coming directly out of high school, I think it's alive and well in high school, the motivation and Tony Robbins and going through all those different people. But I think the problem in high school is people are their people, where they're like, oh, they understand it, but they're like, oh, I'll do it tomorrow or the next day, or I failed once, well, I'll get going next year. And the next year comes, they blame it on next year, and it keeps going. I think like even with myself, I know it, but it's like more the their game, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And how do you respond to that, Luke? I mean, what's going on here, do you think?
You know, I think everybody has to absorb things at their own um, rate. You know, like obviously there's people close in my life, whether it's family, close friends, that you're trying to expose to different things. And I always tell people, everybody's going to be ready. They're all going to be ready at different times. And I think for everything, it could be your first exposure. It could be somebody's 15th exposure. And it could be people at different points in their life. I think nowadays, correct me if I'm wrong, Sammy, but with all the different generations, the technology, to be able to have people experience and get a taste of different things that they're thinking about via YouTube, Facebook Live, and be exposed to things and they go, hey, that kind of makes sense. I'm going to look into that. I think, and everybody has a series of touches, right? When marketing was, you know, it used to be be effective in marketing, you touch somebody 4 to 5 times and made a buying decision. Now we're approaching where 14 to 20, depending on what research you're looking at, because advertising's everywhere. Most people don't even recognize half the advertising out there because our minds are so used to it. We don't realize all the places advertisements are. So I think, you know, everybody, it's in their own term and finding the right time. That some people may hear about something that may be beneficial to them, but at that point in their life, or it might be that day, or it might be that part of the day that they just weren't ready for it. And then they hear it a week later, a year later, or 5 years later, and they go. I used to be the guy that for 10 years was like, why do I need to go to live seminar? I got all the DVDs, CDs. I could say what he's going to say before he says it. And then I went and I go, what kind of idiot waits, 10 years to go see the person who's been listening to an audio, watching on video for a decade, right? So that's just proof that everybody has their own different things going on in their life that when they're ready, because you can lead a horse to water, but you can't force it to drink, right? And, that's like, if you want to help a friend, but they don't want help. If you arrive at a pool and there's 3 people holding onto a brick at the bottom of the pool and there's 3 people waving their arms, which one's you going to help first? I always tell people you can't save the person hanging onto the brick at the bottom of the pool. You got to go for the people saying, help me. It's just like somebody when they want coaching, it's easier to help a student that raises their hand versus a student that doesn't want help.
And you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. In the coaching world, oftentimes we get very excited when we see somebody with a problem and maybe they recognize it or not, and we offer our support and they politely refuse it. And because you're right, they're not ready. But here's one thing that I've noticed, and you're talking about marketing. There's a study out there that by the time a high school graduates, a student graduates from high school, they have been exposed to 250,000 different commercials through their lifetime, which is phenomenal. It's crazy. And so what does it also mean is that, most of us are hypnotized in one way or another. And as you and I were talking about earlier on, is that you are basically a summation of the 5 closest people that are around you. And when our environment is not conducive to providing us the insights or the clarity or the opportunities, in my particular case, I was that guy in medical school who was reading the Greek classics because I really wanted to learn something else. I was not aware of Tony Robbins. I was not aware of Jim Rohn at that time. I'd read all the Rousseau and Descartes and all these people looking for answers, but that stuff that I was learning, although some of the greats have transformed that information into more practical things today. So some of those people have done that, but I couldn't do that. I needed something that was ready for me to utilize. And that's what, people like Tony Robbins and yourself and others are providing us today. But the point that I'm also getting at is I think what the challenge that a lot of people still have today is that, and I've learned this from Steve Linder from Strategic Brain, is that everybody actually does have a compelling future. They're just not aware of it. And I think, when we talk about vision, and that's one of the next thing I want to jump into, because that's an important segment of what you want to share. But when we don't have that compelling future, there's no energy going into stuff. And so you're just going to hang around with the people that you're used to. You're going to stay in that state of certainty. Again, lack of clarity, lack of insight. You just don't know what's out there. And once again, that's the reason for this platform. Really to inspire, people in two different ways. Number one, to be aware of what they didn't know that can make the difference. And then have the way that they can go about it, having the vision and having the strategy to make the changes in your life. That was my experience, only because I was dragged to an event. But let's talk about vision for a second. Let's talk about that compelling future and how important that is, and how it then also relates with your passion.
I think vision is so important. We were talking about motivation. We're tying that in as well. And so many people struggle for motivation, but I ask them, are you where you want to be? And they kind of give me that blank stare, and I go, tell me, are you where you want to be? And they'll look at me and they'll go, well, what do you mean? And I said, tell me, are you where you want to be in health? Are you where you want to be in energy? Pick one. Are you where you want to be in your relationship? Are you where you want to be professionally? And everybody's afraid to answer that question, right? Everybody's afraid of conflict or emotion.
Why? Let me ask you this. Why are they afraid to answer that question?
Because I think so many people, we're all, myself included, right? We have a great message to share, but we share a great message, but we're not perfect messengers. We struggle with the same things we're talking about from time to time, right? Am I right, guys? For both of you as well. And I think most people are afraid to answer a question, the same reason they're afraid to write down their goals, because you feel if you answer the question, you say, I'm not where I want to be, they feel wrong.
Yeah.
And I'm so glad you pointed it out. They feel wrong, or they feel like they're not enough.
Yep.
Most people are always feeling I'm not enough, and if I'm not enough, what if I'm not loved, right? And everybody struggles with those fears. So they think if I'm not where I want to be, there must be something wrong with me. I'm not enough. I must be wrong. I must not be working hard, whatever it is. But the key to getting what you want, or getting to where you want to be, is identifying you're not there. Because if I want to fly to LA, I can't say I'm in LA, because I can't catch a plane from right here in Siesta Key to LA if I tell the pilot to pick me up in LA. You got to know where you're at and be honest with yourself. And when you know where you're at, if you're not where you want to be, that should be part of your motivation. That should be the first step in your motivation. Like, I'm not where I want to be. Then you go back to what we already talked about. I am, and your incantations, building up, I can get there, and you create a compelling vision. And it's like the good book says, without vision, people perish. If it's so hard, if you were to drive your car with your eyes closed, how would that go? So many people get caught up in their past. Drive your car tomorrow looking in the rearview mirror for 3 minutes straight. I guarantee you'll find a tree, a sidewalk, or another car within 5 seconds.
And your crash.
The past is great to glance at, to learn from, to have distinctions, but 99.9% of your focus needs to be forward. And much like driving a car, you need to have peripheral vision and see what's going on now, but you need to be focused down the road, being able to anticipate what's coming at you and seeing where you want to go. Mm-hmm. And I think that's where most people struggle. They see the now, they see 10 yards off, but they're afraid to dream what could be a year from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now. And I think most people overestimate what they can do in the short term and underestimate what they can do in the long term. And I think if you ask anybody, it doesn't matter how big or small you think your goals are, I'd ask you to analyze right now. I'm going to ask you a question. Is there something today, right now, that you do that you take for granted that would have been a dream 10 years ago? And that statement right there, that question,
love it,
points out to you the amount of growth you can have in a decade. You'll have so many breakthroughs over time if people just follow these simple steps create a compelling vision, because is it better to dream big and get halfway there, or just not dream at all? One thing's for certain. If you don't create your own vision, if you don't create a compelling vision yourself, you'll be helping somebody else fulfill theirs.
Yep.
In order to design the life you want, you need to create it in your mind first. Thoughts become things if they're followed with action. And I think that's one of our key outcomes here, is we want to help people get what they want out of life. And it's not just one of these things. They're all put together, but you got to have a vision. But I don't believe in the secret as much, because some people think, oh, I just think about it. I think about it. No, knowledge isn't power. We all know, we all can name 3 friends that are smarter than us, or we all can name 3 people that are brilliant, but not successful to the level they want to be, because they're very smart, but they haven't put it to action. You don't get rewarded for your thought. You get rewarded for done.
So let me add a couple of things to that. Brilliantly said, Luke. And again, it's helping people understand, what's holding you back, what's preventing you from moving forward. Again, something I learned through the Tony world as a coach. One of the key questions, if you have a goal, you have an outcome, you have a vision, what's preventing you? And so many people simply don't ask that question. And a couple of answers that I've come up with that people may want to entertain for themselves, and remembering my favorite phrase in all the things that I do, it's okay to be human. Give yourself permission to be yourself, give yourself permission to have faults and weaknesses, but also give yourself permission to be magnificent, to be amazing, to be great, or to want to be that. When the environment around you is wanting to hold you back, what's also going to happen to you is that you might feel that you don't deserve this. You don't deserve that success. You don't deserve to go there, because other people are just basically holding you back. Another thing that happens is that, guess what? If you're going to advance yourself in life, you're going to lose some people. You're going to lose some family. You are going to upset others, and they're going to want to take you down. They're going to want to hold you back. And it's scary at times when you're out there on your own. I had this experience in the medical field when I was really branching out into the energy world. I've got all these arrows in my back because the medical community just doesn't believe in that stuff. And I do. And that's, again, the purpose of tapping into what I call the brain intelligence, the body intelligence, as well as the energy intelligence. You've got to decide, who you are, as Luke was saying. Be committed with that, with those incantations. Say, hey, this is it. Lose me or not, it doesn't matter. I'm moving forward. And the last thing I wanted to share is this. And, success takes time. Yeah, sure, you have a couple of people that have an overnight success. Interesting enough, you follow them up in about 5 or 10 years, and they're nowhere to be found. Those people that keep at it, that they work at it. Just look at the Beatles, for example, and Bill Gates. The reason they did so well is because they work day in, day out, hours upon hours upon hours of practice. And that's so essential in moving forward. So another thing that I think is really important. So this is the second part of what I want to talk about with you, Luke, and that's energy. And where it really comes down to is personal health. And I know you're a health guru. I mean, you're as a health nut. And you work at it, and I know that you take all these different types of supplements, including Juice Plus, which is a great supplement. I'm sure you take other stuff as well. But the key to, your success is having, your body's your temple, in a sense, is having the healthy body so that you can do the work, have the energy to do all the things that you want. So share with us a little bit of your insights when it comes to health and energy.
And I just want to second, I love what you said. What you just said there, in regards to everything, tying it all together. And I hope people really, really catch that it's, what are those voices and things, and things are going to get in the way. And it's just re-identifying it. I love that. As far as energy, energy is the commodity. I wasn't a great student, as you know. I think everybody can relate to somebody that wasn't really good in school that did really good in life. Because in life, your grades don't matter. They matter in school, and you always should do your best and apply your best. But I believe that energy is the commodity. in today's world, I believe it's becoming more of a commodity because the world has become more sedentary, and sedentary lifestyle does not give energy.
Yep.
You could be as motivated as you want. You could have all the greatest strategies. But if you don't have the energy to put your thoughts into action, and not just the days you feel good, but have enough energy on the day you don't feel good to get it done, because it's consistency over time. You just said, and that's another thing I want to mention, success overnight. Think about the last person. I tell everybody, think about one person right now that you think was an overnight success. And let me ask you a question. Do you think that person worked tirelessly for years prior to that moment to get that success? Absolutely, right? Even the people you think succeeded overnight, they had years into their craft or years of failing at a different craft before they hit their true craft. And the thing about success is, most successful people know this. Once you're identified as a success in your industry, in your relationship, in your life, in your finances and business, it isn't to get successful. It's to stay successful. Think and grow rich and stay rich in whatever realm of your life or whatever pie of your circle of life that is. And I don't ever believe there's a success overnight. People were preparing for time and put themselves in situations to become that. And when it comes down to any type of success, it requires energy. Because in today's world, I know you guys got on here and wanted to have some positive things saying, oh, it's going to be easy. Here's the magic formula. You need to be done looking for the magic pill, especially when it comes to your energy. And you need to realize, quit taking this thought process of everyone deserves a ribbon. Life has winners and losers. 100 people apply for a job. One person gets it. Who gets it? Not the person that blends in. It's the person that stands out. It's the person that has the higher standard. It's the person that's showing up with the energy and the credentials. Because out of those 100 applicants, probably 80 of them had the credentials. They went through the system. They got their degree. They got their certifications. They did everything required. Who got the job? The one that stood out. And in today's world, when you build an energy and you show up, people feel you. Think about the people that have affected your life or have been the staple points at the curve in your road. They're the people that you could feel when they spoke. You couldn't remember what they said, but you could feel them. And you could feel, if you think about the people that care about you in your life, they don't have to say a word. You in your life don't have to say a word. We all have the chakras and the aura, and when you walk into a room, do you want to be the light bulb or the light switch? And I'll tell you which one will give you more rewards, not only in achievement, but also in fulfillment. Energy is everything. And that's something somebody goes, yeah, but I tried this, or I tried that, or I tried this, or I tried that. Quit trying shit, start doing shit. When you go to the gym, you got to lift the weights. You can't go to the gym, drink coffee in the reception area and expect to have more energy. You've got to feed your body right. You've got to feed your mind right. You've got to feed your soul. You got to do your I ams, your incantations, and eat right and move on a regular basis. And you're like, that's a lot of stuff. Yes! What level of life do you want? But the thing I'll tell you, it doesn't matter how much success you get in every other area. If your energy sucks, your life's going to suck. And the other thing I'll tell you, you're like, what happened to the positive motivated guy? Right? Real positive, huh? I'm just shooting you the truth. Now, would you rather hear motivation or would you rather me be real and raw and upfront with you? And maybe, hopefully, my hope for this anybody listening to this live, listening to the radio show, is that if you get one distinction that you put into action tomorrow, one thing that you say, that made sense, I'm going to focus on that. That's our goal. Don't worry about taking the full 60 minutes. Worry about when you go to somewhere, come away with one thing that you're going to implement, you're going to put to work. And you can't do that without energy. If energy was easy, everybody would have it. But let me ask you a question. What in your life does not get better and easier if you have more vitality, resiliency, and energy? What would 10%, what would happen to your relationships, your intimate relationships, if you had double the energy next year? What would happen to your business? What would happen when you walked into the room? What would happen to your opportunities? What do you think more doors might open when you show up with double the energy to whatever you're doing? And this is something that you don't need a skill set for. We all follow the same guidelines. Feed and strengthen the body, the mind, and the soul daily. It's that simple. People go, oh, I don't know what to do. Really? If I had a super soaker to your head, you couldn't tell me if I was going to blast you with a bunch of water. You couldn't tell me what it would take to get fit. You couldn't tell me what it would do to raise your energy. You couldn't think, I wonder if I put down the soda pop and start drinking water if I'd feel better. I wonder if I quit drinking Red Bull and started drinking water if I'd feel better. You guys, I drink 2 quarts of water in 1 hour like I'm talking like this. Why? Because there's nothing more vital to the body than oxygen and water. Right? So I believe if you can't feel it by now, now's the time to log off or cut this audio, or if you're listening to the recording, I'm not here to fix stupid. If you can't get my absolute certainty that energy is everything, you're listening to the wrong content right now.
You know what the best part of all this is that it's available to everyone. And it's just, it's like you said, you don't have to be a rocket scientist. It's not really difficult. It's available to everyone. The answers are simple. You already know the answers. Just go about it. I mean, the truth is that you drink all the sugar. It creates havoc on your body. It's one of the major causes of depression probably in this country, why people are just eating all the refined sugar. Pharmaceutical companies are happy with it and other companies are happy with it because it sells. But at the end of the day, you lose out. And you're absolutely 100% right. I
love the way you said it. It's available to everybody. There's no special requirement for it. And we all were put here, regardless of how insignificant you may feel about yourself right now. Every single thing in this world was put here for a purpose, whether it was a rock, a tree, a human, a child, an animal. All of us have a purpose. And when you have more energy, you get to share that purpose in your X factor, what's unique about you with the world, better. It elevates everything you do. And if you're going, well, I haven't found mine yet, increase your energy, you'll have a better chance.
Yep. And the thing is, one of the easiest things to do, and I'm going to share this with you, Sam, and anybody out there, as Luke was saying earlier, success leaves clues. And where do you find that success? Just model other successful people. Just hang around other successful people. You're not any less. Those successful people, they love to teach. They love to share. They love to motivate. They love to inspire. I can't tell you anyone who wouldn't want to do that. And if they don't do that, then they're not that authentic. They're not that genuine, and you just don't want to hang around them. The people that generally out there, like Luke, like myself, are out there. They love to give. They give you the time, everything else. You tap into the energy, you tap into the insights, you tap into the wisdom, and just simply learn from them. And that's huge. So whenever anybody wants to change their life, start looking for the right people that you want to be like. And realize
energy is simple. It doesn't have to be complicated. I love, like you said, success leaves clues. Some people go, well, Luke, why do you do this or why do you do that? Where did you start rebounding? What I look for is I look for people that blow my energy away. I never take advice from somebody with less energy than me, right? Like if I'm looking to elevate my energy, I'm looking for people that make me feel like I'm kind of low energy. And so if somebody has more energy than me is doing rebounding, I do rebounding every day for the past decade. And when cryotherapy came out and I saw all the people that I respect their energy level were doing cryo, now I do cryo to heal them. I just copy success. Copying successful people is quicker than trying to learn through your own experience.
Yep.
That's a great point.
And again, it's easy to monitor. It's easy to watch. Sometimes you land on books that might not necessarily give you all the right answers. But just, when you see the people in their own success, it's almost like as you observe them, then you start taking on some of their attributes. You take on some of their rituals. You take on some of their ways, and it's almost an instant success. And I think we overcomplicate things at times, and we give ourselves too many excuses. Well, about this and that and everything else. No, just keep it simple and make it happen. So another part that I really want to talk about, or let me ask Sammy. Sammy, do you have any questions?
I actually have a question for both of you. I've heard both of you guys touch briefly on doubt, and my question is that I think can help anyone else listening is that when you have a vision or you're going a certain place, and within that vision you either get a setback or people are out to get you or people want to tear you down for doing something different, and I mean overall it's failure. How do you guys, both of you, bounce back from that and keep moving forward in your path?
I'll let you answer that one first, Luke.
Okay. You're always going to have the element of doubt, right? Because our mind is put there to protect us. That's why, when you look at the media or you look at the radio, I would tell everybody, listen to good radio shows like what we're doing right now. Don't listen to, music. Just program your music, listen to your music. Listen to good radio shows with good content. But when you're looking at a television, make sure you really screen what you're listening to, because most things on TV sell fear. Because they know the mind's attracted to what could go wrong. Otherwise, we won't protect ourselves. Does that make sense? So doubt is a natural thing because it goes, what if this doesn't work out? What if I cross the street and a car comes? Those are all good safety mechanisms. You need to have that in you. But you also need to, that's why it's so important, like we said, to drill in that I am and drill in constantly coming up with incantations that build you up. That belief overcomes the doubt. Where doubt usually sinks most ships or most people is when they didn't take the time to build the belief. They're not keeping, they write down the goal and they don't get crystal clear on it. They don't keep it in front of them daily, and they let that goal get farther and farther away, and then doubt can creep in. Or what if this goes wrong? Or like you said, sometimes people will hit a speed bump. You're working on something, it doesn't work out. And if you reinvigorate that vision or you adapt the vision and, also getting rid of the delusion that success is a straight road, realizing that what builds your self-confidence and that muscle, that emotional muscle through life is understanding that life's not a destination, it's a journey. And if you could learn to celebrate the obstacles that are there to find out what you're made of. The obstacles are there to build your emotional muscle. The obstacles are there are to separate the people that are really hungry from the people that don't want to do the work, right? And having that a realistic expectation to go, if I want to be successful, I can't be afraid to fail. Because the only way to become successful is be okay failing over and over and over again. Because I always tell people, if you can't explain to me the last time you had a great failure, you haven't been serving yourself. You haven't been playing at a high enough level, because it's when you fail, you realize you're finally pushing yourself. Because if all you do is win, 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 think about it. If you played a sport, I don't care what sport, and you won every single game for a decade, would you quit the sport? Yes. Most people say no. Yes, you would. Because there wouldn't be any excitement in it if you knew you were going to win all the time. What makes sports so exciting to watch is you don't know who's going to win. But when you look at the great athletes, that's no different than the greatness of people that are successful at anything in life. Those athletes that walk on the court or the field and they lose, and it creates a greater hunger. Like look at Michael Jordan, for instance, cut as a sophomore in high school. That's what made him the best basketball player in history, right? And we all heard of numerous stories like that where an athlete didn't succeed and it drove him farther, or they lost in the championship and it created a greater hunger. And that's the way you need to look at your speed bumps or your failures, is going, okay, let's tweak it 2%, come again, because I'm not done yet. I have the energy, I have the vision, and I'm going to go. And what truly attracts more energy to your vision and people is when you don't waver. Think of the people you respect in your life. The people that say what they're going to do, and they do it. You say, I'm not interested, they go anyways. Those are the people that attract more of them in their life, right? And I love the way that Bart reinforced that you're going to lose some friends along the way. Maybe you just spend a little less time with them. Pick your friends, love your family.
Right.
Because you become the people you spend time with. It doesn't mean abandon your family. Love your family. Pick your friends and pick them carefully. That's your energy. That's your finances. That's your life. That's your happiness. So you need to be really clear in picking that, because when you pick the right friends, they pick you up when you hit the speed bump. They pick you up when you have the failure. They go, hey, don't worry about it. We got this. But if you have the wrong friends, you stumble. It's a whole different ball game, because they go, oh yeah, I told you so.
Well, let me add something about friends. To be clear, is that your best friends, not best friend, quote unquote, but the friend that's best for you is the one that holds you to a higher standard. And that's key. That's critical, because we actually have to grow. But just jumping in and answering that question as well, which is a brilliant question, by the way. And the truth be told, when I was going through medical school, I had doubts all the time, and I just kept at it. I just had the vision that I wanted, the compelling future, and I just stuck with it. And it's work, and it's energy, and it's a lot of things. But here are a couple of things that you really want to think about. And a great story, and Luke knows the story about Mel Fisher. And the fundamentals of this story is that being a treasure hunter, life is about finding the treasures. And so there's three elements to the treasure hunt. Number one is it's out there. Number two, that you're going to find it. And number three, that it's worth it. And the story about Mel Fisher is a very interesting one, and you may want to look into it. And this is a 30-year saga, and he was absolutely convinced that there was this Spanish galleon that sunk off the coast of Florida, when so many people just told him he was crazy. He had lots of family drama. I think some of his children perhaps perished, or other people perished, practically went bankrupt. But he kept on going for 30 years. He just would not give up. And when you believe in something that strongly, just don't give up. But you have to decide if you believe in something strongly enough. You have to decide if it's something worthwhile. You have to decide if this is your legacy, if this is your purpose in life. And only you can decide that, because enough people, like Luke was saying, are going to dissuade you from that path. And I've had that many times. I have a lot of people that says, what are you doing? What are you doing interviews for? You're a plastic surgeon, for God's sakes. Why are you doing this? So I have all my reasons to be doing these kinds of things, despite what people are telling me, what I should do differently. And so it's the same thing with you. Just believe in something strongly enough, go after it. But having that passion, having the energy is key. So ultimately, Mel Fisher found probably the biggest, find of all time, worth billions of dollars. And he just did not give up. But here's another thing, and expanding on what Luke was saying, and there's a great book out there by DeMontis called Bold. And the key concept that I got out of that was simply this: fail often, fail forward, and fail quickly. And so life is about failures. And it doesn't have to be. Certainly learn from people like Luke and Tony Robbins and others out there that already have mastered the success path. So you don't have to fail all the time. But when you're venturing in new areas, or you just don't have the answers, failure is okay. And my biggest challenge when I first became an entrepreneur out of my medical residency was I was petrified of failure, because one thing, doctors, we're not allowed to fail, particularly surgeons. We're not allowed to screw up. And so that was my biggest challenge, and I realized that. And so doubt is always going to be there. And so the question, when doubt creeps up, you just have to ask yourself, what am I really doubting? What is it about this that I'm doubting? And more importantly, what if I could not fail? What would you do then? And again, I attribute that question to Tony Robbins, one of the greatest minds of personal transformation in the world. Any thoughts on that, Luke?
Yeah, absolutely. I love I just reiterate, I don't think there's anything to add to that. I think it was very elegantly said, Bart, is, like you said in Bold, fail off and fail fast and fail forward. is such a key. And, again, I think one other thing to add to this would be, if you want to be successful at anything, and please feel free to jump in on this, Bart, is I think you need to be okay with this temporary disapproval of the majority of people. Mm-hmm. Because if you want average, which the majority of the world is average, right? That's what the word average means. If you want more than the majority of the world, you need to think outside the box, and you need to think differently than the majority of people. So that means the majority of people are going to think you're crazy, are going to think you can't do it, are going to think you're a lunatic, whatever it is. And you need to be okay, if you really want to create a compelling vision that's going to stretch you and pull you to get there, you need to be fine with the temporary disapproval of most people closest to you even. And you need to surround yourself, as Bart said earlier, with people that go, how can I help you get there? So that when you do hit the speed bumps, as you said, Sammy, as you hit the speed bumps, they're there to pick you up quicker, help you fail faster, fail more often, and fail forward.
And you'll find
that was amazing. Thank you.
Yeah, let me just add this, and I want your feedback too, Sammy. You'll find people like Luke, myself, who are on their path of great success, great achievement, however you want to define that, and they're happy to help. I mean, we're here giving out all the time, and that's the fun part of what we get to do, is just simply helping others. Yeah, people have to deserve it too, and they have to work for it as well. You just don't, give handouts all the time. But you can find those people and get inspired by them, and that's what's exciting for me on this platform, because I get to meet all those people. Mm-hmm. But how does this resonate with you, Sammy?
Well, just hearing like you guys talk about different stories and about your personal life, I noticed that you guys may have different paths, but the same key components to success is wired in those. The persistence, determination, motivation, energy. Like, you guys have done completely different things, but in order to get where you guys are now, you guys have both done the same components, which is actually truly inspiring, because it makes me realize, and probably anybody else listening, that no matter which way you're going in life or what you want to do, it's the same key components to get there.
Yep. And one thing that I felt just as you're talking, Sam, you're a smart guy, and you've got potential and you've got opportunities. And the fun thing for us is we get excited when people like you start succeeding, and it's the coolest things. So for me personally, Luke is a little younger than I am, but it kind of reminds me of myself when I was at that time, your age, and doing the things, and you're doing things already that other people wouldn't do. And so all I would say to you is, as Luke very eloquently said, expand that horizon, think bigger than what's possible, and then go for it. Just believe that it's going to happen, and you will start succeeding. But on that note, how much time do we have left?
About 5 minutes or so.
Oh, cool. So one last thing to wrap it up all together, and that's the time issue. And one thing that I love about this statement is that Bill Gates doesn't have any more time than you or I. We're all born equal with time. We all have the same amount of time to do what it is that we want to do in our lives. But time is about planning. Time is about strategy. Time is about procedure. Time is about action, execution. So what are your final thoughts on that, Luke?
On time, I'm not the best planner. I'll tell you that. I'm not I think my assistant keeps me more lined up on time than I do. If you're not good at managing your time, get somebody else to manage your time. I would tell you, whatever you're going after, whatever you're not good at, find somebody that is and surround yourself with them, right? It isn't that you have to know how to do everything to be successful. It's being resourceful in where you're not good and surrounding with people that are good in those areas. And so when it comes to time, I have my assistant run me. I joke that, she's there to support my wife and what she does. But I said, you're literally my boss, because I know I'm not good with my time. And the other thing I'd like to add to time is it's so important. You never get it back. So if you're watching this, if you're listening to this, thank you. We so much appreciate you and honor you for spending time with us and giving your trust to us and listening to this. And hopefully we added some value for you. But I would also tell you, with time, with never being able to get it back, the more energy you bring to the time, the more you get out of it. There's people that put a week's worth of work into a day, and then there's other people that put a day's worth of work into a week. So I also, directing it back to energy, when you have more energy, you can get more done in less time. You can compress time. I used to think time was a commodity. I think energy is the ultimate commodity, because when you have more energy and you have the other tools we talked about, where you got a vision that's driving you, you got the energy, you got the passion, you know who you are, you can get more done in less time, and you're going to be in a physical state of resourcefulness that whatever you don't know, you're going to know where to go get it, or you're going to figure out where to go get it. So, that's my thoughts on time. You're probably much better at managing yours and a little more organized than me. But, since I'm not good, I have somebody else in charge of my time.
I think that's a wonderful statement there, Luke. And, it's not about having the resources so much, but it's about being resourceful. And resourceful requires you then to, find other, or allows you to find other resources in the areas that you're not good at. Because the one thing I understand is that, for us to really have the most fulfillment in life, if you will, is when we can find ourselves in the zone of fulfillment, where we're in flow, where we're rocking, where it's awesome. And you know what? There's some things that we suck at. There's some things that we're bad at. And that's when we just need to leverage our time and give it to somebody else. But again, you're absolutely right. Time is that key issue that you can absolutely manage. And when you have that energy, you can really make it work for you. And again, you don't have to do everything. So as we wrap up, I think a couple of things that I do want to share is that the answers are out there, and you really put it, hit the nail on the head when you ask the question, or when you ask people the question, are you where you want to be right now? And I think that's a question that most people don't ask themselves enough, and for whatever reason. And so in essence, most people are in a dream. They're sleeping, they're hypnotized, or they're just simply in denial, because the pain to realize, to acknowledge that you're not where you want to be right now is too hard. And so it's easier just to settle. It's easier just to sit in front of the tube, the TV, and go to sleep. And the truth is that you're really going to want to be aware and acknowledge and decide, what is it that I really want, really? And I add the second really in there because oftentimes we feel obligated that we have to do a certain thing, or that we have to be a certain way. We have to follow somebody else's rules. But the truth is, you have your blueprint for perfect life. You have the blueprint for that perfect body. You already have the answers. Your best coach in the world is yourself. All you have to do is listen to yourself, listen to your brain, listen to your intuition, listen to your body. And that's what great people like Luke are teaching and coaching people out there and helping people with the right questions. And as we talked about last time, the quality of life is the quality of questions that we ask. You ask better questions, you're going to get better answers. So my final question for Sammy, how much time do we have left?
I'm about a minute.
All right. So I'm Dr. Bart Rademacher, Prescription for You Transformation, real people, real conversations, real success, talking to this amazing human being that inspires me and energizes me in Luke Wren. And I just want to give him the last few words. You have about 20 seconds, Luke, where people can find you and any words of wisdom.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much for having me, Sammy and Bart. Greatly appreciate it. And, you can find me on my website, Luke Wren. That's W-R-E-N, LukeWren.com. And if you're looking to improve your energy, I got a simple PDF on there on how to double your energy now. And if you're one of those people going, you know what, I really don't have a strategy or a vision, click on, to schedule a strategy session with me personally, and somebody from my team will reach out to you and get that scheduled. But take to heart, take one thing from today, put it into action. And if you're not where you want to be, get clear on where you are and where you want to go. And that plan will give you more motivation than anything else you look for.
Great. Awesome. Thank you so much, Luke. And I'll reiterate that. Go to Luke Wren. That's where you want to go. LukeWren.com. Sammy, take it away, and thank you, and I'll be back tomorrow.